today I want to talk a bit about routines. So obviously I'm a big believer in routines, and I'm a big believer in routines because I'm not a big believer in wasting willpower. So the thing is with willpower is that it's definitely, although you can build it up and you can get better at applying willpower, it's definitely a finite resource, and so you shouldn't be chipping away at your willpower all day just to be able to get things done. That's where routines come in. So for the past, I don't know, 7 years or something like that, I've had the routine of getting up early, and by early I mean like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I get up at 5, and that gives me time before like everyone else got up in the house and stuff, and before like life got its claws into me. I'd have time to do stuff that I wanted to do, like read and just whatever I wanted to do. And that was great. I mean, also the thing about getting up early is that it means that you need to do another like bunch of things for that to be able to work. So, like for instance, I started getting up early after I stopped drinking, because let's face it, you can't be getting up early. There's no point in getting up early, dragging yourself out of bed if you're feeling under the weather or tired or hungover or anything. You know, what's the point? You're not going to be able to do anything with your time. So for me, getting up early was just like a kind of crystallization of my intent to be productive, because basically I needed to, the only reason that I could get up early and be productive was because I was actually doing other things in my life to allow me to do that, like, you know, giving up drinking and stuff. So the reason that I chose getting up early over other things was because I was in control. Like, so I've got 3 kids, and obviously 7 years ago those 3 kids were very little 3 kids, and I had more control over what time they went to bed than I did what time they got up. So that meant that if they were in bed at 9, I could get to bed well before 10, and then getting up early was easy. And then most days they'd stay in bed till at least 7, and so I'd get a good 2 hours in of, you know, doing reading, research, whatever I wanted to do. You know, get my meditations done, you know, all things. But now that's kind of changed. So now, 7 years later, the kids are much older, and so getting to bed at 9 o'clock, because we live in Spain, isn't an option. You know, it's just not normal for kids to go to bed so early in Spain. So anyway, I sort of, just out of pure habit, even though the kids were going to bed later and later, I was still getting up at 5 o'clock. I was okay, but I was getting more and more tired. And the thing is, if you get up early but then you're just tired, you can't do stuff, because, you know, at 5 o'clock in the morning, if you haven't had enough sleep, there's no stimulus, you know, it's not light, so like you're not getting the sunlight to, you know, wake you up, and you know, you can't make any noise, so you can't actually do anything to sort of, you know, wake yourself up. So I've started, and also now that I go to jiu-jitsu, I've been going to jiu-jitsu for just over a year. On Mondays and Wednesdays I finish late, and so I just can't get to bed till like 11:30, 12. So I've switched to now regularly staying up till about 12, but getting up at 7. And that seems so, the time that I did have early in the morning, I now have it before I go to bed, and you know, so I can still get stuff done, and it's okay. You know, I think I prefer getting up early, but that's just not an option. So why am I telling you any of this? So the point is, having routines is great. It's just, like I said, it's the It's sort of like the shortcut. Instead of having to, you know, fight using willpower to get stuff done, it just happens by itself because you've got into the habit and the routine. But you also need to have a check that, you know, does the routine, is it still doing what it was meant to do? And that can be kind of tricky to spot because, as you probably all know, your brain's really good at coming up with excuses to not do things that you want to do. So it's not that I always liked getting up early, but you know, after an hour or so, if I've been reading, or you know, I'd start to get a bit tired, and then my brain would be like, oh, you know, just have a little snooze. You've read enough. You know, you've done whatever. And that feeling was just getting stronger and stronger, and I was actually pretty tired because I was actually going to bed too late and just not getting enough sleep. And so these things build up, and then what happens? Then you start leaning into your willpower, which is fine, but you get into this kind of position where, see, the thing is with the way willpower works, it's like if you actually don't achieve it, then you erode your willpower. So I saw this great meme. There's a guy and he's about to do a deadlift, and he says, if I don't lift this, then I'm gay and all my family will die. And it's kind of, you know, it's stupid, but it does kind of illustrate the way willpower works, because you actually, you know, you're setting yourself up for something and you're putting a lot of pressure internally on yourself to do it, and if you don't do it, then it's bad. It's bad for you psychologically. So that's where I came to the conclusion that I couldn't really carry on just getting up early. And that's another thing that I want to bring up. So we actually become the things that we do. You know, that's what a lot of these, so now it's all very popular to talk about your identity, how you identify. But the thing is, it is actually a real phenomenon in the sense of, like, I identified as someone who got up early because I've been doing it for that long, and it's just like, getting up early wasn't just something that I did. It's like it's one of the things that who I was, because you'd be surprised how often it can come up in conversation when, like, people just say, well, how do you have time to do all these things? And you say, I get up early. And you say, oh, I get up early to go to work. And it's like, yeah, well, yeah, but I get up at 5 o'clock. And it's like, what? 5 o'clock? And it just becomes, you know, you become known as the guy who gets up at 5 o'clock. And things like that. And so now, I'm not going to be the guy who gets up at 5 o'clock anymore, because there's no point. I wasn't doing it to show off. It's just, you know, I was doing it because I wanted to get things done, but I just can't anymore. And it's just, you know, I expect maybe once, you know, when my kids get older again and stuff, and you know, maybe if I can just go to bed and leave them to it or whatever, then fair enough. But I don't really like just saying, you know, to my wife, right, you put the kids to bed. I mean, I think I like putting the kids to bed. That's why I don't go to bed before they do, because it's just like, it's a nice time to just say good night and, you know, maybe reflect on the day a little bit, and you know. So that's the thing, is habits, good habits are great, but you have to really keep your habits in check and be mindful of them. You know, make sure that things that you do are still benefiting you, because if they're not, then you've got to stop them, because then your good habit becomes a bad habit. And we don't want them, do we? So that's why, things like, quitting bad habits, it's difficult because of, all the things. It's not just, so for instance, I don't know, I mean, I've never smoked, so maybe I'm not the best person to talk about why giving up smoking is difficult. But for instance, drinking, although I wasn't an alcoholic or anything, which I'm pretty sure I wasn't, because I give more like credit to people who were alcoholics and like they say how difficult it is to give up drinking. I didn't find it difficult at all. So, I don't think that I'm just super great at applying my willpower and giving stuff up. I think I'm just, I was never like addicted to alcohol, which is I think a major part. So this is cold fish, by the way, in case anyone's wondering what the hell I'm cutting up. It's just something that we had left over from my wife. Had the nice big round bit and I got the tentacles. Anyway, so like a big part of giving up drinking was I sort of identified as being, a drinker, not just a drinker. I was quite, I was like the guy at the party who could like drink everyone else under the table and, not be a complete mess like a bunch of other idiots. So that was like, it still comes up now when we have friends over and, there's a barbecue or stuff and, they're all standing around drinking beer and I'm just not. And like they'll say something to me kids, oh, the way your dad used to drink. Who can believe it? And it's like, it's kind of amusing stuff, but my kids don't even remember me drinking. So they just think it's just some kind of crazy old war story or whatever. But, when I first gave up, the social situations were just terrible. I mean, I found them really difficult. But not because of, drinking was just something to do. I mean, let's face it, the reason that you drink at social occasions is because, one, it's something to do. Everyone's just, even if like you just listen to a conversation, at least you've got something to do with your hands. And like two, the alcohol does like relax everyone and, gets people who haven't got anything in common to sort of be able to talk to each other. So that was like a skill that I had to learn for myself after giving up drinking. Because another thing that I learned, well, I didn't learn it, I just sort of discovered after giving up drinking was that it was something that I'd done all my adult life. So I didn't even really know what it was like to go to some like social situation, to be in some kind of social gathering with people that I didn't really know or didn't even particularly like, and have to like strike up a conversation. And because the alcohol was always the crutch for me, like not just me and everyone. And it was something I had to learn, and I have learned now, and now I'm fine, but I'm also fine with the fact that I realise that I don't like being around certain people, and that's okay. And just because I don't like it doesn't mean like I don't do it or I don't go or whatever, but I can just accept this is just the way it's going to be today, and I just put up with it. So, the thing about habits is that you really should, if you can, systemize your behaviour up to a certain extent, then you can get into good habits, and then these things become automatic. And so, like I said, you really don't want to be using your willpower just to get your day-to-day things done. I mean, if it's taking all of your willpower, like to, go to work or, do your job or whatever, you owe it to yourself to, change job. don't want to be living that life where everything is just drudgery. Because we kind of, there's like this concept, and I'm not really sure where it comes from. I used to ascribe it to just like Catholicism, whereas like, you know, everything that's good or feels good must be bad. So therefore, everything that's actually good for you should feel bad to do. So that's why work, you know, you should hate your job because, you know, you've got to do it, and that's just what you need to do, and it's just normal. It's normal to like hate doing stuff, and then but that then translates to everything. So then, like, it's normal that you hate going to the gym, and then it's normal that, you know, you don't want to eat healthy foods, and the thing is, it's not normal. We've trained ourselves to just, you know, get into that mindset. I mean, that doesn't mean that 100% of the whole of my life is all just fun, and, you know, it's like, I mean, I injured my shoulder at jiu-jitsu on Monday, so I won't be able to go tonight. No, and it's annoying and stuff, but it's kind of, I still want to go to jiu-jitsu, and even though I know that I might get injured, and even though when I'm there, like, a lot of the time when you've got someone's, you know, bollocks in your face and you're getting your foot ripped off, you know, it's not all that enjoyable. But the whole experience is absolutely great, because like you come out of it and, you know, your endorphins are through the roof, and you've also got that thing of, I did it, I didn't want to go, but I went, and I've learned something. And even if you just learn something about yourself, you know, these are like things that you just, you know, facing your fears. You know, when we're sparring and we're like going round, and, you know, you do end up sparring with people that you just like, you know, if it was a fight on the street, you would give them a very extremely wide berth. Yeah, we go through it, and, you know, you get through it. Even if you have to tap, it doesn't matter. You know, you've done it. You've done your best, and it's good, because you come out of it knowing that that you will try hard, and that you will apply yourself, and that's, you can just take that philosophy to anything. So like, you know, you're at work and you've got to do something that you don't particularly want to do. You know, at least make the best of it. You know, just, you know, I'm not a believer in gamifying everything, but in a certain sense, you know, you can at least abstract it to the point of, you know, I owe it to myself to do the best job I can. You know, that's kind of another thing. It's as if, I don't know, I think this has always existed, like, long before I was born, but like the idea that being at work, you're somehow like fighting your employer, you know, as if they're the enemy. And like, if anyone who's had any kind of, like, ran an actual business will know that, you know, you just, as a business owner, you're not thinking about how can you screw your employees. You know, you just, that's not why you started the business. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people in corporate structures at middle management where that's the only thing that they're thinking about, but that's because they're motivated by a whole different thing. It's not like they're not doers. So I'm a computer programmer, I'm a doer, and I work at like software companies, and, you know, we're the guys, like, you know, writing the code. You know, that's what you do. And so there's always something to do, and the whole reason that you're a programmer anyway is because you like doing that kind of stuff. And if you don't like it, then just go somewhere else, do something. You know, it's horrible working with people who just see the employer and as their enemy, and will just complain at any given moment. I mean, to be honest, I think I used to be a little bit like that when I first came out of university. You know, but I didn't really think it. I just felt like that was the kind of thing that you said. You know, like, boo, down with the oppressive structure, you know, class war and all that. Well, especially like growing up in the poor parts of the UK. I'm not saying that we were poor because we weren't, but you know, seeing poverty, you know, although it's like obviously relative poverty, it's not like anyone's starving to death on the streets, but you know, it's I'll turn off. But anyway, I suppose I've got a bit off topic. So what I was basically saying is your habits, like they're very important. You absolutely should, like your main goal of just like getting things to work out better in your life is getting into good habits and just making things automatic, making your good decisions automatic. You know, so whether it's like what you eat or, I mean, that's why I like diet systems. So I don't really think of them as diets, but diet systems. And they just sort of put a fence around, you know, things that you will and won't eat and stuff like that. And it just takes the load off. You don't want to be thinking about stuff. So like, I think this is my 20th video, and you'll notice that every day I eat almost the same stuff. Not exactly the same stuff, but largely the same stuff. But it's always fish, it's fresh vegetables, it'll be some legumes, and you know, I'm sort of covering me macros. You know, there's butter in that as well. You know, so I'm eating pretty much healthily. I'm not spiking me insulin. I'm just keeping it all under control. That means that it's easy for me to keep my weight under control. I'm not stressing about my weight at all. I don't even weigh myself. I don't know, maybe it's over a month since I weighed myself, I don't know, but I can just see it and I can measure myself and I know that I'm neither putting weight on, I'm just like, you know, I'm just like sticking around like 70 kilos and stuff, and that's fine. You know, for someone who's like 181 centimeters like me, that's good. You know, I'm below half my height and my waist. I think I'm like 84 centimeters or something like that, which is great. And they're the things that mean that I'm not stressing about what I'm going to eat and what I don't eat, and you know, am I getting protein and all this, and it's just, you know, more or less I'm going along okay, and I want that for everything in my life, because I only want to have to like focus on things that require focus. I don't want to be exhausting myself day in, day out on every single thing that I have to do. I mean, I've almost got like, when I go and do the shopping, I take a list, but I don't really need it, because I know what I need, I know what the kids eat, I know what, you know, it's easy, and that's because I've practiced it for years and years and years, and, you know, I strongly recommend that all of you guys do as well, because it just makes your life easier. You know, you don't want to be thinking all the time. You know, it's kind of funny. So like on the channel, like I have the philosopher theme going along, but the reason that I use that is because I think that we should think and contemplate the important things in life. But what we shouldn't be doing is using all our powers of deduction and just to do your everyday things in life, because you'll just wear yourself out. Like, I found myself wearing myself out getting up too early when I'd sort of lost the purpose of why I was getting up early, and it was to have time to myself to be able to do stuff and be productive. But as it chipped away at how early I could get to bed, then I wasn't as productive at the other end. So now what I'm going to do, well, I'm just going to be productive before I go to bed, and I'll just get up later. And that's it. But we'll see how that goes. Because if that doesn't work, then I'll have to try something else. You know, there's no other way around it. But, you know, that's how we just make things better, is by experimenting, not being too like too passionate about what the outcome's going to be. You've got to just watch it and see what happens. You know, you've got to be like the neutral observer if you can. I know in your own life it's almost impossible, but it is possible. But you just have to be the neutral observer, try things, experiment on yourself, and see what works. And that's what I think people just aren't, don't even consider that they're in the drudgery of their own life, and like they want to lose weight or they want to achieve something that's just like, oh, but I don't have time. Well, you do have time. You just have to make that time or move things around. And the whole point is you're in control. It's your decision. So like you might not have all the time that you could possibly want. Oh, I wish I didn't have to work. Yeah, that'd be great. I wish I didn't have to work as well. So I could just do other stuff. But I'm not in control of that right now. I'm in control of my day to day and what I can do with my waking hours. And so that's what I do work on. And that's what you should work on as well. Right. This is cooked enough. The way I seem to decide how cooked things are is how hungry I am. I just get to the point where I can't wait any longer. So I'm just, it looks like the cuttlefish is cooked anyway, which is the only bit that I was really bothered about. Not that you can't eat raw cuttlefish, but I don't feel like the slippery, squeeginess of raw cuttlefish. So it's all done. It smells nice. And then that's me. Fran has cooked lunch. So see you around. See you in the next video.